And good day.
It is indeed a beautiful day out. Although, quite truthfully, as I mentioned at the closing of yesterday's program, I reserved the right to walk out during the first 10 minutes or so of the program because the first work that's scheduled is one that I just, on an emotional level, cannot handle. It's just too depressing. I mean, it just gets to me, makes me very, very upset, and I almost walked out Friday afternoon. I've never had a piece of music affect me quite like that.
And you're speaking, of course, of yesterday's performance by Barere of Liszt's great work from October 1849 called The Funerailles, and it's such a deep-felt work. It's grief-stricken. Some researchers think it was composed because of Chopin's death that month in that year of 1849, and there's probably more proof that Liszt was tremendously affected by the slaughter of certain friends of his, aristocratic friends, in the Hungarian Revolution of 48-49. The Funerailles is one of his most deeply felt works. I was very impressed with the way you were listening, though, because it seeped through you.
Well,
into you.
Yes, I could handle the superficial aspects of the work on an intellectual level, but apparently simultaneously it was getting to me on a very emotional level that I found very discomforting. That's the only way to describe it.
Well, I've never thought of it like that, but I have always been much affected. It has never made me want to leave the hall or the room, but it's wonderful that the effect was so totally honest, because you were ready to collapse.
I was, and we shouldn't be laughing about it.
Well, I don't mean to laugh, but I think that your listening was so fine, and the art of listening is so difficult. Let the music seep into you. It's we're just inundated with noise and sounds in this modern world of hellish sounds. And to listen to music with passion, which means with great attention, is, I think, a wonderful thing, because we are then hearing. We so seldom hear. We're trying to block out. And great music can make us absorbed, hearing with passion. And that's what you were doing, Matt. Let's hear another great performance of this work, quite shattering, by Vladimir Horowitz, Funerailles of Franz Liszt. Did people hear that?
Yes, I'm afraid so.
The
The beginning
opening.
of the next, but at least it broke the tension, the suspense, because I was again getting very upset.
Well, that was the beginning of the Schumann toccata. You have just heard Franz Liszt's Funerailles in a performance by Vladimir Horowitz.
And we'll be back with more of today's musical offering right after this.
From the grief-stricken Funerailles, let's hear a work of lighter character and pianistically brilliant, yet also full of sarcasm. Liszt took Gounod's famous waltz tune from Faust and made it into one of the great transcriptions ever composed. We have a brand new recording by a real gypsy, Georgie Cziffra. rip-roaring, bang-up performance of the Faust waltz transcription by Franz Liszt, based, of course, on the waltz and other material in Gounod's opera Faust, the second most popular French opera ever composed. You're going to ask which is the first.
Oh, of course. Wasn't that what you were leading up to? I
Carmen.
see your mind working.
Carmen,
of course,
yes.
yeah.
Faust once had the lead, but in the last 20 years, worldwide performance of Carmen has beat out Gounod's Faust.
And that's quite a contrast to Funerailles, thank goodness. And
Well, you needed that. Well, of
I
course, this
definitely
is Liszt with his Faust, and we have it tongue-in-cheek, and Sitwell writes a wonderful paragraph, and we're going to hear another performance of this invigorating work of real genius. Liszt must have seized upon this tune, and the tune was quite new when he composed this in 1863, from the most popular opera of the day, determined to make its worldly success his excuse for committing every kind of sacrilege with its body, and yet lifting it, in doing this, onto a higher spiritual plane that it could ever aspire to upon its own merits. The opening of the piece is most impressive. The tune of the waltz breaks out of the rumbling and the thunder of the preluding bars, as if it were floating over the city, over the Paris of Napoleon III, between the blackness of some tremendous storm and the million glaring lights of the town. It is possible to hear in this extraordinary moment a sort of epitome, not only of that particular gilded opera, but of all the slangy waltzes escaping out of the opened doors of theaters, with the gas light still upon them from the stage. It is the music, by predilection, of a whole town and of the restored empire. The waltzes of Offenbach are implicit in it, and we are reminded in its strains of those figures, those haters and commentators upon their own age, Baudelaire and Constantin Guise. Such eyes as these are in the streets tonight, in that curious throng of crinolines, among the glistening carriages, dressed as all the others in black and wearing the stovepipe hats that were so much a part of the sinister ugliness of that age. It was to fall, doomed to fall, and perhaps there is the note of that, too, in this music. When the waltz comes back, once more and for the last time, it is decked out in devilish and fiendish finery like the goddess of prostitution, and it vanishes in thunder, or is, in effect, danced off the stage and into the wings, where thunder is waiting for it, whether real or feigned. I wish it were possible, Sitwell goes on, to give some faint indication of the curious effect of the Faust waltz as it was played by Busoni, and of the curious expression of his face during the performance. We must regard this waltz as one of Liszt's farewells to the world. He had just become an abbé, and this old magician had appeared often enough before the public for him to appreciate their weaknesses. In this piece he is giving them their delight and mocking them in that. If it was a wonderful experience to hear Busoni play this, what would one not give to see and hear it played by Liszt? His black silk cloak fluttering ironically behind him, Mephistopheles disguised as an abbé, Lovelace's farewell, but we must return with him to the Vatican. And before we return to the Vatican with him,
I have a question. Did Busoni do a transcription of Liszt?
There's a cadenza in it, and pianists will use certain elements of that. I'm not sure that Cziffra didn't. Cziffra uses certain effects that aren't in the original composition, and also Earl Wild will, yes.
In fact, it's been written of this particular recording. The work built on Gounod's Faust is surely the most remarkable waltz paraphrase ever contrived.
I wrote that.
Of course.
Yeah.
I know. This is your review of this disc. Yeah. One of the greatest of all Faustians. Liszt could hardly resist these tunes. The pianistic layout is nothing less than exquisite, although Wild does add a few harmonic fillings.
Yeah.
He plays with love and tenderness and with a warmth that I've seldom heard before detected in this musician.
Yeah. Let's hear Earl Wild in the great scenes from Gounod's Faust. the Faust Waltz, a remarkable work from a recording called The Demonic Liszt, played by Earl Wild. And we have no choice but to play the Simon Barere, for this was a pianist 1896 to 1951, who The Faust Waltz and Simon Barere, 1896-1951, one of the great technical mechanisms of the 20th century. He has remained a legend. Tomorrow, well, we have a little more time, don't we?
Well, we have...
Then wonderful, because we have on this recording his Gnomenreigen, and we did not hear that when we went through the Études.
Okay, the Dance of the Gnomes.
Yeah, Barere had a heart attack on the stage of Carnegie Hall in 1951 when he was playing the Grieg Piano Concerto with Ormandy conducting the Philadelphia. We have the concert Étude Gnomenreigen. Let's hear Simon Barere. .59, 13 seconds, and Simon Barere concludes with the Dance of the Gnome, our Liszt program today. Yes, ma'am?